that with CRP to keep the weeds down?
The first year that should be in your contract is.
Okay, we are in business.
Did you mention a Julia call Chuck? By any chance?
I did.
Has she got my number?
She need to know that when we're hearing her this way.
She can
Oh,
hear us.
she can't hear us. So,
She can hear us, we can't hear her.
But we can hear her if the other way.
Okay.
Okay, she said she's off.
Things that are good, like, either for holding soil or for pollinators. You know, those
Broadcast that call.
typically it's like. keys or like cards. Some cover crops that have like plus seeds or mix. It's usually a fruit, so it's, you know, it's pretty big, you know, for like our job.
Oh. I'm gonna put you on speaker. Okay, speaker. Okay, we should be set. So we will call the meeting to order. I've got 9:12. Confirm that we are legally posted under
Yes,
Mr. 19, confirmation of posting. Approval of the minutes from the July 7th meeting.
Make a motion to approve them.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion, changes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Hearing none, motion carried unanimously. Public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on the agenda items for today's meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on to announcements. Chad?
Okay, I have several announcements. I mentioned at the last meeting that we had a vacancy for a conservation technician. Haley had moved to Arizona. I did make an offer. We made an offer to an individual. We're waiting to hear back on the background check and all that. So I should know hopefully this week or next week if the position was accepted, and then we'd be fully staffed again within the department.
Do you have any details on the person?
I'm gonna wait to see if everything goes through.
Okay,
I don't want to
all
say
right.
too much until all the legal stuff is done in the background.
Yeah, all right.
The 2023 budget was submitted, and I have my budget meeting next week with Chuck, with the executive on Wednesday to discuss the budget. And we were able to meet levy, and there was an additional request for the truck replacement with their budget as well, like we discussed. I wanted to thank those committee members that were able to make the kickoff meeting for the Rat River Grant. We had the 3 champion farmers there, and I think it was nice just to kind of hear their concerns and give you all a little background on soil health and the efforts that we're doing within our department. I guess I would turn it over to any committee members. Did you have any comments you wanted to make on the event, the 3 that were there?
I just thought it was very interesting.
Okay.
I'm learning so much.
Good, good. Well, we're kicking off with that, and then kind of a segue into that Rat River Grant. I think Emily in our department emailed everybody about a field day we're having next week. It's regarding cover crops and no-till. It's on the Jim Lickey farm. It's just over the border. He does have some land within Winnebago County and Outagamie. So at 3 o'clock on the 9th, we'll be going out there to discuss cover crops and no-till strategies. The rain date would be for the 10th if it rains. So you're all welcome to attend that. And there's been a lot of area farmers that were invited to attend that as well next week. So that was kind of a last second thing. And Jim wanted to hold a field day. So we took advantage of it and organized it through our department in cooperation with Fox Wolf and Allegheny County as well. All right. I'm wondering if the September 1st meeting, I have to go to P&F to get a budget transfer approved. It's at the exact same time as our committee meeting. So I'm wondering if we can switch the time either early or later that day to accommodate me going to that meeting. So I'd be looking at 7 or 7:30 or 11 or 11:30 maybe to have the meeting.
They start at what, 9?
9. Yeah, and I don't know where I'm going to be on the agenda or how long it's going to take. I really don't know.
What was the second time?
I was thinking around 11 or 11:30. So we could go real early or go right before lunch. Or if you want to do afternoon, I could do afternoon as well.
What's your pleasure? We've done this before.
Push it out to the following week. We've done that too.
Oh, that would create problems, yeah. 11 o'clock work for anybody? You should be out of there in 2 hours.
I would think I need about 15 minutes to get back. I would think I'd be back by then.
Yeah,
I should.
I'd call the chairman, see if we'll be up to,
Okay.
get you first.
Okay.
11 o'clock work?
Yeah.
Is that too late for anybody?
Works for me.
11 o'clock, Julie, can you hear me?
She said yes.
Okay. All right, then we'll go with 11 o'clock for our September meeting.
That's September 1st.
Yeah, September 1st, yes.
I'm on a phone call here, so I can't answer that.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I just had Dad Cat report, just pass around. This is for August. For your reading pleasure. And that is all I had for announcements. I know Mary from NRCS had something she wanted to mention as well.
Welcome, Mary. We haven't seen you in a while.
Well, Bruce, I've been busy. I'm working by myself, so I've been going to farms. doing
That
farm
great
check.
big tall guy left you?
He went to Green Lake County.
Green Lake County, yeah.
Yeah, he's still with the agency. But I just wanted to let people know that our agency is going through a reorganization right now. All the other states have multi-county service centers. They're actual soil and water districts. So Wisconsin's the only state who doesn't have that. But we do now. They're combining the last few counties that haven't been combined. And Winnebago and Outagamie County are going to be combined. Lynn Solcheski is the DC in Outagamie County right now. She's going to be the lead DC over our 2 counties. I will be subordinate to her. Once this goes through, we haven't gotten our official position descriptions yet, but she's planning on coming to the meeting on the 1st, and then she'll introduce herself to everybody. But really nothing's going to change. It's just change in management. Like program wise, everything should go the same way.
Are they gonna hire a person to replace the gentleman? that
We've
left?
hired a soil conservation technician. He starts in mid-September.
Okay.
His name is Michael. He's from Iowa. I don't know what his plan is. He said he's looking for a room to rent from a farmer. He doesn't really have a place to stay. It doesn't seem like he's relocating here, which is kind of weird, but
Do you anticipate any delay in administration of services?
no, everything will be the same. There's like some duties, like some things that I won't be doing, and it's more like, approving payments and stuff like that. I'll still do all the certifying practices, like in the field, stuff that I do now. And then Lynn would just be approving the payment, like, so she can, because we have to upload everything to the cloud on our website, and she can view everything from there and just approve the payment, but I'll be doing all the background stuff. So really nothing. I mean, she has to supervise more people. And then for the next, I don't think this impacts anybody, but in case anybody hears anybody who might be interested, our agency is getting more involved in urban agriculture. So I think there are cities with population of 50,000 or more that are kind of, there's not really money set aside, but that we're gonna do some outreach to bigger like Oshkosh and then like the Fox Cities area in our 2 combined counties, working with like community gardens. We can do cost sharing for high tunnels, which is like kind of like a greenhouse, but you grow stuff in the ground under it. It's supposed to extend the growing season. You can get in earlier, grow stuff, later in the year. And then it would be like, micro irrigation inside of that, cover crops inside of those high tunnels. And then I'm not sure, because it's really new, all what would be offered, but if you hear any people interested in stuff like that, it is a thing, but I'll be learning more soon. But that's it for me, I guess.
Okay, well, thank you for updating us. Any questions?
Not trying to promote business, but where's this gentleman located that's looking for a place to live or?
Well, he lives in Iowa right now, but he'll be working out of this office.
Okay.
Do you have a room to rent?
Well, I have, come September, I have 40 rooms to rent, so you can certainly contact me if he is looking.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Would you be doing any of this in, when we say residential, in private gardens?
Well, the high tunnels, basically, if you're growing vegetables in a garden, you're eligible for a high tunnel. So if you don't already have a farm and tract number from FSA, I mean, that's kind of the first step, is getting set up with FSA. We make little tiny farms out of, an urban yard or whatever, and then that's how you, because we need to do that for you to be eligible for our programs. It helps if you're already growing stuff in your yard, because the high tunnels, how we plan them is to plan to go over an existing garden. It doesn't have to be the exact footprint of what you're gardening in now. You can plan it for bigger than that, but you should be growing, gardening in the soil now to be eligible.
And it matters not how big or small it is?
Funding is competitive though, I'll mention that, because of 6 high tunnel applications last year, I only had 1 funded. So they'll all be rolled into the next sign up. Just wait and see what happens, but it usually takes a couple years to get funded.
I've got a garden that's about 40 by 20. That I'd love to have something like that.
Well, we cost share, it's so much per square foot. It's not really meant to pay for the whole thing. So you would have some amount,
Sure.
extra that you'd have to throw into it, but yeah, I can, or sign up. The deadline would be early November. I can bring information at the next meeting if you're interested.
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other comments from committee? Thank you, Mary. Are there any other anyone wish to address anything else to the committee under announcements? Hearing none, we'll move on. Committee chair report. Bring you up to date. Our executive committee for the Foxborough Watershed Alliance and the 3 counties was held last Thursday. We did elect a new chairman, and that is our own John Damon, who is going to be the new chairman for as we go forward. Now, the contract that we have with Foxborough Watershed is up in December of next year.
Yep.
So before our term is over, we'll be reviewing and addressing a hopefully new contract with Foxborough Watershed. Any questions on myself? Our meeting was at Fond du Lac, by the way. That's where we always meet. Any questions of myself?
Could I just mention one thing? Mr.
Sure
Chairman?
you can.
Well, Sheriff County, I found out that it's passed their committee to contribute to the program, the $20,000 that needs to advance the county board in Sheriff County, so they may be a partner moving forward with the program, which would be great to have the fourth county on board with the funding source for Winnebago Waterways program.
So that would be a fourth county joining this county arrangement.
Yep.
We can't use tri-county anymore, so what are we use quad?
Quad County. Yes.
One more thing,
Yes.
I was reading the Judiciary Committee and noticed that they, and Julie, this is related to you, is that they are considering committees and commissions having Zoom as a voting right, not at the county board level, but at the committee and commission level.
That,
And I think that's coming up in,
that resolution is being brought forward by myself and Mr. Norton. So for sure it'll be brought up.
thank you. I think that's huge.
Thank you for your comments. Hopefully we get it passed. Anything else of myself? Hearing none, we'll move on to the business items of the meeting. The first one is to review and approve the memorandum of understanding between Fox Wolf Watershed Alliance and Winnebago County Land and Water Conservation Department. Chad will explain the details of that.
Yep. Pass this around here.
This is another grant, I believe.
Yes. So I think it was early next week, I had Fox Wolf Watershed Alliance reach out to me in regards to working with a grant that they have for soil health practices. So what I passed around here is they just called the Back 40 Soil Health Challenge. I think they took that from what we had within our department. We call it our Soil Health Challenge. It's kind of gained traction in the region as far as using that term and promoting soil health. So what we're looking to do is accept $10,000 this year and then $10,000 next year. And what that would be is to sign up 1 or 2 farmers for soil health, would be no-till and cover crops. It'd be 100 acres at $100 an acre is what would be paid. And then our department would be paid $10 an acre each year for those acres that we signed up. So it'll be about $1,000 incentive that our department would get. And part of the MOU is working with Fox Wolf Watershed Alliance. We would work with the farmers, sign the contracts, make the payments. We would have 1 or 2 staff be part of a team. It's an agronomy team in the area, a basin agronomy team. So Fox Wolf has a new position that's a regenerative agriculture position, and his job is to basically provide training for county staff for soil health initiatives. So they would have this team to really start gaining traction and promoting soil health initiatives. So again, we work with Fox Wolf. We would have to meet with the farmer 4 times a year. We provide data to run through the SNAP Plus program, pre and post, just to show the savings. And then there is a report that comes out. It's a whole farm analysis to kind of show the benefit of doing soil health initiatives and what the pollutant reductions are and those type of things. So it happened again at the last second. I wish we had more heads up, but I think it's a great opportunity to bring in a little money and keep pushing these practices within our department. So the MOU would be, it would be an annual MOU. We would renew it again next year to work with Fox Wolf on this grant. It's through the, what is it called? The Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and then at Great Lakes, I forget the name of it.
They're just Great Lakes of that.
I think it might be just Great Lakes. It's 2 separate organizations where the main grant came from, and then it'll be a number of counties that would work with Fox Wolf on this initiative.
I think the Great Lakes, a big federal grant. As I recall.
Yeah.
The SNAP Plus would just be the identifier that you use. They don't have to sign up for like the 590 or anything like that.
No,
It's just identifier.
no, you get the previous 3 years to kind of show the preconditions, and then after you do the practices, they would run it again. Yep.
And this
Was
grant is
soil
all,
test done through that time frame, or
I would assume there'd be some soil testing done. That would be a part of it. I would
at
assume.
least through the time of that contract?
I would think, I would have to confirm that, but They do have soil tests that they do to just look at organic matter and that type of thing. I would have to get more details on exactly what we all put in that. Yeah.
Is this within a specific watershed?
It's not, but
Okay.
we are going to focus in,
So it'll be
highest-
countywide.
it would be countywide, but we're still gonna probably put our focus in the Rye River, because that's right now where we're focusing our efforts, not worst.
Which was identified in that Huck issue we had discussed.
Yeah.
Before I call for the vote, any questions of Chad?
What kind of stipulations come along with the grant?
Well, in the MOU, I mean, we have to attend, we have to be part of that basin agronomy team. So again, I need to sign at least one of my staff to be part of that team. Then we have to get data from the farmer for, like I mentioned earlier, the previous 3 years and then 2 years after, they have to agree to that. And then they commit to 2 years of doing no-till and cover crops with their department. So they would sign a contract, we go out and verify, and do that sort of thing.
So it's fairly basic.
It's very basic.
You don't end up with the DNR coming to.
No, this is a pretty straightforward grant here, very simple. And then hopefully after 2 years, there might be another funding source because like I mentioned in the past, it takes a good 5 years to have soil health practices really prove themselves. So you want to give it enough time. 2 years isn't enough, but we're gonna at least get people enrolled and then see 2 years from now, maybe there'd be an additional funding source, maybe through Mary or maybe some other grants. And again, this is just to keep it out there, keep gaining traction, and it's going to be a marathon with this, trying to transition farmers to these practices, but we'll keep plugging away and do what we can within the department.
Don't we currently have a program where the farmers can receive like $5 an acre or something for cover crops?
There's a tax incentive for that. I think it's a $5 tax
It's like
incentive.
a crop insurance thing though. You have to have your cover crops reported to your crop insurance agent and then you get a $5 per acre tax credit. So that's separate from any government program like that we run out of this office.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this is really a far better deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Julie? Have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, let's call the question then. All in favor of the memorandum of understanding, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no opposition, the motion carries. I'm sorry, I didn't do that correctly. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
I'll second it. And I have a second. Now we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no opposition, the motion carries. You're smiling, Donner. Never mind. Okay, business item B, review and approve the 2022 budget transfer of $10,000 for the implementation of this program we just approved. And I believe there's something you wanted to add. You had gotten an email, I believe, correct?
Yes. Yep. So,
So the email is a resolution which is passing out now.
yep,
Okay,
this is the resolution email.
this is what's going to be going before the county board. Yeah, I think so.
You didn't get some, did you?
There you go.
You emailed those out, right?
I did, yes.
We received them.
It was an email. I'm just sending around hard copies in case we can print it off.
Thank you.
So this budget transfer, because the grant came at the last second, I did not have this plan in my budget, so I have to bring it into my budget as expenses and revenue. So it's going to be $9,000 paid out to the farmers, and then we bring in $1,000 of revenue for the department. But part of that, why I had to do the amendment for the budget transfer is according to Corporation Council, because this is new money, I need to advance it to county board. So I needed to put together the resolution, which is in front of you now, which we have to approve under the business item here. And then this would go to the P&F meeting on September 1st. That's why I had to change the time that we talked about. And then it would advance the county board in September for final approval for the budget transfer.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposition, the motion carries unanimously. Now we go to business item C. Review and approve the Winnebago County Water Quality Improvement Program cost share. And as I was reading that this morning, it's quite substantial, actually. Chad, if you'd like to explain that a little bit.
Yes, so the first project with Michael and Jennifer Pollock, there's a lot going on there. They had some out of bank flow and there were some pretty big gullies along a substantial navigable waterway.
This is a farm.
This is a farm, yeah.
Located on Black Wolf.
This would be Black Wolf. I just printed off a plan view. It's probably not the biggest here, but basically the water was coming through this drainage way and was cutting across the field and gully. So what we're gonna do is on each side of the stream, we're gonna basically create a bigger floodplain. We're gonna pull the bank back and then go up at an 8-to-1 and stabilize those banks and create more capacity for the water. So that should keep the water within that the navigable waterway. And then there is a machinery crossing where it's getting gullied up where the farmer's crossing. And then right at the end of it, we're gonna put a scrape to provide some additional flood storage and water quality benefits as well. So we call this, it's not a grass waterway, we call it a stream bank shaping and seeding. It's what we're doing. We're not working at the bottom of the waterway, just the side slopes. And then we've got the crossing and then the wetland restoration. And then the last component is riparian buffer. So they're going to enter it into our 15-year, actually, it's a 10-year contract through our county program, where that'll be in a permanent buffer where they get a payment for that.
Where's the wetland?
The wetland, there's some wetland back here, but the scrape is right here. In the
Okay, so
corner.
we're kind of adding to it, making it larger.
Making it larger and then just putting a buffer around it. So that existing ag land here will be, it's a lower area. There'll be some additional storage there. It's a wetter area. And then hopefully that water out. So
That's a half acre, it says.
it's about a half acre. Maybe a touch smaller with a 35-foot buffer around that. And then this buffer would be 35 feet on each side. Of the
You
stream.
said that stream is navigable,
Yes,
so require DNR permit.
we're working with DNR on that. Yep.
And what permit are we requesting?
We're working through that, but
Chapter
this,
30 thing?
it's a chapter 30. We don't know if it's going to be a general or individual for part of the project. We're working right now with them to get that figured out. But the nice thing is not only we're going to make more of a floodplain and stabilize those banks and create more capacity, then you have that buffer on each side, which helps stabilize everything along that stream in the future. There's a lot of water that comes through here.
Are you doing that this year yet?
Yes, it's the plan. Bids went out, Mel's out on site showing today, actually. So a big project, a lot going on in
Can
that
you
one.
explain perhaps to the new members of the committee, when you work on navigable waterway, has a defined bed bank and flow, constant flow of water in it, which makes it under DNR authority. So to do any work on that, including the banks, you got to get a permit from the DNR.
And that's what chapter 30 is?
Yes, you can
Chapter-
explain that. It's kind of an accelerated type permit that's been newly established, right?
Yeah, it's a chapter 30 permit and they have a general permit, which is, that moves pretty quick. If it's individual permit, that requires a public notice and it's usually a 90-day wait on it. So it takes a little bit longer. We're thinking we can get the general. There's one little spot where it could trigger an individual, but we can adjust our design to fit with DNR to kind of speed things along. That's how it's looking. Crazy thing is the individual we're working with DNR has 30 counties he's responsible for. 30. It's crazy. The workload, he's just swamped. But I know him really well, so he's staying in good communication with
What's
us.
the fellow's name?
Jared. Yeah, it's been bouncing around musical chairs. Jared side out.
So, yeah, I think they're short staffed too.
So a general permit would just be an administrative function,
Right. it just
not
speed-
public hearing. all
not
that
public
stuff.
hearing.
Okay, yeah. Some of the municipalities apply for a general permit, like towns and that kind of stuff.
So
Well, it
that's,
sounds like a very good project, and that
Yeah.
cost is,
that's the cost share amount you see there. So that's 70% of the total cost of 19.
I'm just trying to add them up in my head here, so I'll take 11 off 43, it's about 30-some thousand,
Pretty close to around 30.
okay?
And then the second, anybody have any more questions on that site?
Now, it's the total cost, we're not cost sharing that. Our cost share amount is more like 18,000,
Yeah, it'll be the 19.9.
19,900.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have it.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, the spreadsheet. So that's the Pollock site, the Trick site. We don't get a lot of contours in our county, but this site is pretty steep. This came from Mary initially. I think he was talking with you, but this is, you want to get it done this year.
Yeah.
So we were able to go out there. We got the design out. Mel's on this site today too. Pretty steep area. This is going to be called a critical area stabilization. So we'll do some shaping and then some seeding to stabilize the gullies that are each one of these.
Critical area means it's downhill slopes, slopes are radical or,
Yeah, it's steep and it's just a critical area that you're stabilizing with vegetation. It's just a term for.
to keep it from washing out, basically.
The roots hold the soil in
Yeah.
place, essentially.
And
So
that's in the town of Armo?
I think that's the town of Oslo. Yep, so that one, we're looking to get done this year as well.
Question.
Mhm.
Out in O'Share County at the Pine River, there was a big rain at one point in time, and part of the Pine River edge caved in. My question is, does this help prevent something like that happening?
I don't know
Or
if it
does
was,
this happen after the whole edge is caved in?
yeah, I mean, we have more flashy rain events. I mean, like the scrape that I showed you, if you can create more flood storage within a watershed, that's gonna help with these rain events. But something like that, I mean, streams are dynamic, they change, I mean, they move around. That's normal for a stream to do that.
And soil types up there, more sand.
And absolutely, and
Yeah.
O'Share County absolutely made a pond so that they hopefully, that wasn't gonna happen again.
Yeah, now if you have buildings that are being jeopardized with that kind of erosion, you know, you want to armor it with riprap, and the county could work with you on something like that, and the sheriff. If there was,
And it wasn't on our side, it was just a question. Is this kind of plan getting ahead of something like that happening?
you know, the more flood capacity we could build within a watershed, that, I mean, it's not gonna fix all the problems, but we need more flood storage out there for these rain events. I mean, it's happening more and more with these high rains that we get, so the more flood capacity we get out there, it helps, but I mean, it's gonna take quite a bit to fix an issue like that.
Okay, so now one more question. My home state is Louisiana. And down there, obviously, the Mississippi River goes down. They've got levees there, but oftentimes the farther down the Mississippi you get, it then overflows the banks. Sugarcane growing country, and they aren't happy when it floods, but the amount of good soil that comes with those floods is important to the growth of the crops. What happens? Is that a general speaking kind of thing that happens if there's a flood, that you end up creating good soil again?
Well, I think, I mean, the problem is you lose all the good soil when the erosion happens through the watershed in these streams, and that's what causes a lot of the water quality problems. And then downstream, maybe there's some value there, but overall, we don't want that to happen.
Well, of course,
We
you're
want it
getting
out
into
of
the Mississippi Delta by that point. and so,
Right.
yeah,
In
we're
our
always
case, it's
happy for
winding
that.
up in Lake Winnebago. I mean, if you go to the muck on the bottom of the water, it's, 5-6 feet deep, and it's a lot of phosphorus in there. That's a legacy phosphorus they talk about, so
Okay.
that's where it winds up eventually.
It does, and that's what causes the algae blooms and all the problems we have. So if we can, this is where soil health helps. It keeps the soil in place, these types of projects. It's making a healthier.
And of course, down there, they're at the end of it all, and so that's,
I look at the Bay of Green Bay, it's a dead zone with a lot of the fisheries and it's
Yeah,
just a lot of
Green Lake. Thank you.
Sure.
If there are no other questions, I believe that we need to approve that, correct? Okay, do I have a motion to approve business item C?
What is the cost on the second one?
The cost share amount is 8,104. So that spreadsheet that I gave you kind of details a lot of that for each practice. That would be the 70% cost for the second one, a little over 8,000.
Total cost is 11,500. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Business item D is to review the Land Water Conservation Department project list. Should have that. Where'd I put it? It's this one here. I got it right here. I just had a page of stuff. And on that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new projects.
Okay, so again, our department, we are, I think, busier than we've ever been right now with projects. We've allocated almost all of our money already, and we're ready to sign up new projects next year. It'll be interesting. We just sent out 3 for bid. I'm curious where the prices are going to come in at. We've been seeing double the cost, so I'm anxious to see where these things fall.
On that point, if I might interject here, you said we've used up all our money. Now, this budget, so we're talking county funds
And state
and state
and MD.
for these projects was how much?
Probably close to 130,000 roughly,
And of that county money was what, 80,000?
87.5.
Okay, now this next budget, remember, we have no levies, but we did increase the amount to
94.
94. So we're putting a little more money aside if the county board approves it for next year, anticipating more cost.
And initially, that program was approved for $100,000. It was tapped into over the years to meet budget. So I'd really like to get that back up to 100,000 for the amount of work we have out there and the price of these products. So
Well, that does, if I might interject another question though, with inflation that we have. And I don't know logically, does anybody assume it's gonna go down to where it was 4 years ago?
Does it ever?
Good point, my point actually, and our point. So will 100 grand be enough in the future? Probably not.
Fond du Lac gets 150 right now, and I know they're spending it. And I don't think we'd have a problem here.
Okay, so I think we recognize a pending concern, and maybe we just so we're aware of that down the road. That, you know, if we're gonna continue to do the work we do, we're probably gonna have to have more funding to do it.
And we are taking a more targeted approach, as you all know, with the watersheds that we're working in the highest loading. We're not only promoting soil health, but we have modeling that we run to show erosive sites. We're doing outreach with these farmers, and it's bringing up more work. Along with, we're doing a barnyard inventory, and we're identifying some bad sites that we'll have to address. So we're just getting a lot more proactive getting out there and finding projects. So
There is a caveat, and of course, I'm on this new ARPA commission, but hopefully we're gonna try to get some of that ARPA funds. We have requested 3 million. But I gotta tell you, the process is really bogged down. It's really slow. I was hoping to get some money by the end of the year, but that's not looking real well here, so. If we get that funding, that would address this question.
it would,
alleviate that, so.
it would.
Just so you're all aware of what's going on, you know, as a committee with these funding issues. So that's why I brought it up primarily. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure.
Is there such, I don't know what the percentage is that the property owner gets. Is there such a deal that somewhere along the line we have to look at not providing the same percentage to the property owner, which
It's a hard sell at 70% right now, and if they go above and beyond, we do a 90% cost share. And that can be a hard sell. If we start to get less than that, I think it's gonna be harder to get conservation on it.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, I always want them to have skin in the game. I never want to pay 100%
Yep,
for the project. I think we have a pretty good system for that.
Okay. Yeah,
Hey,
I-
Chad,
Yes, Julie.
the last item, the Whiting Eric, what is the WCB?
So I can go through that. You want me to go through this list and I'll explain that. The first project on here for Jamie Albright, the WCB is a wascob. So what a wascob is, it's essentially this farmer was experiencing some is experiencing some pretty bad erosion through the field. So instead of going through the whole field and chopping it up, it presented itself an opportunity to put in a pipe. So we create a berm where the water collects and then it goes into the pipe and then we outlet it down further where they can farm through it and still farm the field. And then we stop that gully, fix the gully, and they can still farm through it. So it's essentially an inlet with a pipe and then the water is outlet. It's what a wascob is. We haven't done a lot of them within our department, but there's all of a sudden we have a couple sites where it might work out pretty well with the grade.
Is it permanent?
Yes.
Kind of like a tile system.
Okay.
Where does that word come from? That's new to me, Joe.
Water
20 years,
and-
I've never heard it. used.
Water and sediment control basin is WASCOB, that's how they get it, so.
I did a
So
lot.
it's a
Another
federal term there. right?
Another acronym,
No,
no, it's
no.
just an engineering acronym.
okay.
I did a lot in Washera County and I came here and
Oh,
never
you
designed one and all of a sudden two popped up that we might be doing this year. So that's how it goes.
What do you know? Good question, Julie. Thank you.
So for Jamie Albright, we're looking at the wascob. And then at the end of that, we're looking to do a wetland restoration at the end of that project. And then for Anna Hayes and Richard and Anna Hayes, that's a well abandonment. Natosh would be a rain garden. And again, to remind the committee, we have a partnership with the Rotary Club where we pay 50% of the cost. They pay 50% up to $500. We have a 70% cost share up to $500. So it costs us $250. The Rotary kicks in $250, and then we'll put rain gardens in.
Now,
Usually
for
2,
the
3, or
benefit,
4.
that's also within the urban areas.
Yes,
And I think even in the city areas, if it's
correct.
has application, so.
Do you all know what a rain garden is? By any chance? So I can explain it. I mean, we have one right as you walk in the front entrance here, all those native plants. It's collecting all the water off that part of the roof, goes into there, and the native plants have deep roots that'll go 10 feet down to the ground. So the water used to go across there through the parking lot, collect all the oils, and it went right to Lake Winnebago. Now it goes into the rain garden, holds the water, and then releases it slowly. The plants create voids in the soil. They die off about 60% a year. And then that creates voids. The water infiltrates better as it matures. And that water just soaks in, it recharges the groundwater, the aquifer. And then you have the native plants, which are great for pollinators and flood control. There's just many benefits. So we just like to provide a little incentive to promote it. It's not a big part of our program, but collectively, if we got a lot of these put in, it would really help with flooding and create some mini habitats across the county.
Especially in the urban areas. Subdivisions, that kind of thing.
So that would be the Matosh property, the Larry Tripp we talked about. The CAS on here, that's the critical area stabilization. That's the one we just approved. And then the Eric Whiting project, he just came in and we're looking to do wascob and a waterway. It'd be a combination of both in that one. And that project, we have about $22,000 of MDB money. So we're looking to do that probably next year. We have to get the watershed plan approved through DNR, and that would open up the door to spend those funds, and that site would probably, those funds would be allocated to get that.
How's the
project
DNR
done.
get involved?
They oversee that program.
Oh, MDB.
Yes, yeah, so they have to approve our watershed plan, our annual reports. I'll admit it's a lot of administrative work, the amount of money we get for the program. So we just kind of base that each year, how much money's there. We'll keep applying. Again, that's the point source. The funds we get right now are from 3 wastewater treatment plants, in Westfield, Green Lake, and Fond du Lac. So their outflows from their wastewater treatment plants, they can't meet their target levels within their permit. So to offset that, they give us money, and then we work with landowners within the county to install projects, is how that works. So we cost share the projects through that program, is what we do. And for this year, we got $22,000 for this year for those 3 wastewater treatment plants.
Because you said Green Lake and Westfield, that money from those treatment plants stay in those counties, or is that coming here also?
So it's based on the watershed, and we were the only county that applied. We got all of it. Even if there were other counties, it gets divided out based on the area that you have within the watershed.
Right.
Is how it works.
Okay,
So nobody applied, because there are some headaches with it,
yeah,
DNR, but we can bring in some money. I want to take advantage of those opportunities. 20,000 is
Yeah.
a project. So.
sure.
So overly simplified, those treatment plants are to some extent paying a fine for not meeting the standards, and we're collecting the fine they're paid. Is that?
So the concept behind it is, so we get the money to offset to do the non-point pollutant reductions, but what it's doing is it's buying time for these wastewater treatment plants to catch up with the technology for the brick and mortar to reduce it. And it's happening. Fond du Lac, it started out like, it was like $200,000 that first year. And they were able to get the numbers down on the treatment facility where now I only got $4,000 from it this last year. So it's buying time.
Yeah, the state felt with the new rules that a lot of these municipalities just couldn't do it. So they gave them, so much time and broadened it out, so you could still meet the requirements of EPA, but
Made them pay a little.
yeah, they gotta come up with the money too,
Yep.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's kind of where it is.
Can I just make one more comment?
Sure, certainly.
I just want to explain like funding cycles, I guess, like Land and Water has money at the beginning of the year. And that's why I've sent a couple people over to Land and Water. Usually every year we send a couple people over because they need something done right away. Like through our EQIP program, we can fund all these same projects. It's competitive funding because we have so many people that apply. And then say somebody applies this year, they won't know until next year whether they get funding or not. So there's this whole time gap where they don't even know if they can get funding. And then if they do get funding, then they would be a year behind in their project. And that's why some of these, it's like Tritz called us first, and it's like, well, if you really want to get this done this year, you should probably talk to Land and Water, just because they get all their money up front. We get our money allocated by Congress every year. We never know how much we're gonna get. So it just all depends. Like it's beyond my control how much money we get. I do my best as far as ranking applications, getting all the costs accurate and stuff like that. And then it's basically just, we fund applications, highest points to lowest till we run out of money. And basically when it's gone, it's gone.
Based on your
Wait.
appropriation.
Yeah, and then it's
So
up
you
to the
can
next
allow
year.
it that given year if you have the money appropriated.
No, we don't. The thing is, we never know how much we're gonna get. And I think the state gets a certain
Oh,
amount. Every
really?
state gets a certain amount. Our fiscal year starts October 1st. So after that is when we'll first find out how much we're gonna have for EQIP for next year, for
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
But the state gets a chunk and they kind of divvy it up to the counties based on their historic expenditures. So
To
like
the
you.
county NRCS office.
Yes.
That's-
Yeah, each work area, but you've been to some of those local work group meetings where, we talk about practices, prior funding, we spent all our money. Sometimes we ask for more money and get it. It just seems the last couple of years, I think because projects have costed more just with, supply chain issues and stuff, and a lot of raw materials prices have gone up. So our projects end up costing a lot more. There's not a lot of extra. And then nobody's really giving money up from other, because we've gotten money from other states in the past that haven't used all theirs. But it just seems like it's becoming more and more competitive every year. So we don't have all the pots to go to like Chad does.
Well,
We just get it from one place.
I really appreciate that comments because I interpret that to me that the federal government is beginning to see restraints to some extent, which puts more emphasis on the county level.
Yeah. Well, and every year they have to ask for an allocation and, you know, supposedly more money is going into conservation, but there's a lot of pots to divvy it up into. We have, some of the money goes to that GLRI, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We have some of our money goes to CRP. So we have a lot of, some is the wetland restoration easements. Then we have EQIP. That's our major kind of construction program, and then our conservation stewardship program. So there's a lot of pots to divvy the money up in, and then, you know, through all the states and stuff like that. So we do our best.
If a landowner decides that they want to proceed with the project today, would they be reimbursed when?
I gotta go. Bye.
Bye-bye, Julie.
Bye.
Thank you.
No, you have to have with us, you have to have a contract. If you start before you officially have a contract, you've basically invalidated your contract. And that's part of the procedure of me talking to somebody when they apply. Like, what's your time frame? If this is something you need to do now, if there's a chance you could get funding, we have like waivers to commence that we can have people sign. But basically, your funding's not guaranteed. So if you start on your own and then get awarded a contract after that, and we have this waiver in place, we can pay you after the fact. But if you don't have that, or say you have it and you don't get funding, you're not going to get any money from us. So we're fairly clear with people on, you know, expectations of funding, and I've just been doing this for so long. I know timelines, sometimes you have to apply for 2 years in a row before you get funding for stuff. It's certain practices are a lot more popular than others. So supply and demand, like pretty much like everything else. Thank you. Yep.
You know, I'm thinking, Chad, it places more emphasis on ARPA funds. That number is getting to be more important and irrelevant as we explore what's really going on.
Yeah.
I might know, I have land in South Dakota. I signed it up for CRP 10-year contract. And years ago, I had CRP land here in Wisconsin. I think it was 1990, 2000. That rental payment is more than double from CRP.
Yeah.
So you aren't going to get land at CRP if you ain't paying $100 an acre somewhere in there.
The rental rates for CRP have gone up in Wisconsin. They're more in line with
Commodity prices.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they look at that, they adjust that every year, but it's based on the soil type that's, you know, under where you want to plant the CRP, and they look at yield of different crops. So it's based on yield. Some are not as high performing soils as others, so those are lower rental rate. If you have a high performing soil that you're going to take out of production, your payment's generally higher.
But comparison to 10, 20 years ago, it has, my term is more than double the rental rate.
Oh,
So
yeah.
basically, there's a lot more cost involved now with these programs. And I think that's what you're addressing, the appropriation from the federal government.
Yeah.
To address those.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mary. That's very informative. Appreciate that. That was a review. The next thing on the agenda is to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. I have a motion and a second. I assume no discussion is needed. All in favor, say aye. Aye. No opposition. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right. I'll print out the-
I hope we're doing a good job of striving, quite hard
Just like the
to
guidance, but
get
it
things
lists all the
explained a little more,
species
especially for
and
the
like
newer
what they
committees.
are.
See, on
The only thing I was thinking of. is, like,
Conservation